Welcome to part 4 of finding your hip joints for length in standing. So we'll begin in the same way with our baseline, coming to standing, finding the weight on your right foot and the weight on your left foot, sensing how tall you feel today or how pulled down you feel, then beginning to shift to the right and to the left, sensing for yourself how the weight is through your right leg, whether you feel pulled down or supported through the left as well. Left, right. Then forward, back, as many times as is useful to you to sense your weight and to sense where the middle is. Where's the middle between your front and your back? And then stepping forward on one foot and back to the beginning, and forward on the other foot and back to the beginning, forward again and back several times. And then please come down onto the floor, settle onto your back, and sense the length in your lumbar spine, how much space there is beneath it, your sense of your hip joints. And let's bend and stand the legs again, finding the sweet spot for your feet that's not too close together, not too far apart. And let's take this idea of pulling and pushing the floor and take it a little bit further. So we can push the floor away and flatten the lower back and sort of dissipate a lot of the force through the lower back into the floor, as if we're really pressing into the floor with our back. We can also do something else, which is to allow the force to rise up the spine, almost as if I was going to lengthen away from the wall below my feet, up the floor slightly. So as you press the floor away and press and flatten the back, you can also lengthen up and out your spine, lengthening up that way, and then let go. This is a way of cycling the forces from the ground to teach you how to use them so that you have length in your spine rather than compression. So it's the same movement that we did that we call 12 o'clock. But now rather than stopping at 12, there's a way that you can lengthen out to the top of your head just by allowing the force to travel up rather than stop here. So it travels up and you get longer. I'm actually, back of my head is actually sliding. You can see ever so slightly, if you look here, that my head is actually sliding relative to my finger on the floor. It also might be rocking a little bit, depending on whether you let your head slide or whether you allow your head to rock. Either way feels very good. Yeah. So now let's straighten the left leg. Keep the right leg bent. So now what would it be like to translate a force from your pelvis up to your midline and across to the opposite shoulder? So because I'm only pressing with one leg, the force isn't going to go directly up my spine like it did when we worked with two legs, but instead it's going to go up and across ever so slightly. So with your right leg bent and your left leg standing, allow that force to move up and diagonally to transition. So you feel more weight on your left shoulder blade when you push through your right foot, don't you? And you may notice that your head wants to turn in that direction to create a response, to respond to what's happening. So what am I doing? I'm pushing the floor away with my right leg. allowing the force to move up across my pelvis, across my ribs, across my shoulder, and allow my head to turn. Try it on the other side. Change your legs. Now with the left foot, the diagonal is going to go across my right shoulder. Start small. Just let it be a small diagonal, just up a little bit and back down and up a little bit and back down. And when you start to feel that diagonal, notice that you're actually rolling on the right side of your spine, on the right side of your rib cage, and on your right shoulder blade as your head turns. Then start to ease off on the accelerator pedal under the foot. Come back to the beginning place or the starting place. And then again, push the floor away. Generate that force that not only moves up, but also across you. So you feel the right side of your spine, the right shoulder blade, and then finally the head all begin to turn to the right. This is also a part of walking. So we're actually not only helping ourselves to find our hip joints, but we're also training ourselves to coordinate our walk. So back to the other side. What happens if you begin to sweep your left arm along the floor, allowing it to turn over at some point? Just taking it as slowly and softly and comfortably as you can. It's just a very small and easy movement. No big deal. And then allow your head to turn with the movement. And then add to that, pushing the floor away with your right foot so that all of you rolls and spirals to the left. This is a really delicious thing to do, and you've got the ground force coming into that hip, lifting that hip up so that you can rotate and really drive from your foot into that hip joint right there. Gives you a great deal of information about how the ground meets your pelvis through the ball and socket of your hip joint. Change to the other side so you lengthen the right leg, sweep your arm up as you did on the other side, just a few times by itself, seeing if you can find a way to make the movement as easy as possible. You'll notice on this side, I'm not moving my arm very much because my shoulder doesn't like it today, so I'm not forcing anything. Then push, generate that force through this hip. Keep driving the knee away and the hip towards the ceiling. As you roll and lengthen and spiral up away from yourself and back down. Do that as many times as is comfortable for you. And then when you're ready for a rest, lengthen your leg down and sense how you meet the floor. Sense if your lower back is a little flatter. Sense if you notice more where your hip joints are. And then come up for a last baseline to standing, finding yourself in standing, sensing your feet on the floor, sensing how you notice your hip joints, shifting a little to the right foot, sensing the ground force through the right foot, the right ankle, the right knee, the right hip, shifting to the left foot, the left ankle, the left knee, the left hip joint, the pelvis, the spine, and just continue going back and forth. Sensing the ground supporting you, sensing how you get longer each time you go to one leg and longer, how you get when you go to the next leg. And then moving forward and back on your feet, and forward and back on your feet. Finding where the middle is, where it's the easiest place to stand, where you feel the longest and most supported with the least amount of effort. This is not posture, right? It's not a position. It's never static. This is a place where you're negotiating the forces of gravity, just like in physics, and ground force at every moment. And then the last piece, stepping forward with one foot and back again, and forward with the other foot and back, forward and back. And then once again, take your final walk and just notice what it feels like to walk. Notice how your arms swing. Notice if there's more of a spring in your step or a twist in your spine, and how you use your arms. And that's it for this lesson. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.